Welcome to Sacred Seasons. This is a sanctuary for your spirit, a circle of peace where we reconnect with nature, the ancestors, and the quiet rhythm of the earth. Here, every season holds a lesson, every silence holds truth. Settle in, breathe deeply, and let the journey begin. Blessed to be, as above, so below. Why the moon shapes magic? Moon magic begins with a relationship, not a spell. Long before rituals were written down or names were given to phases, humans felt the moon's pull without needing to understand it. They noticed how emotions rose and fell with her light, how sleep shifted, how intuition sharpened in darkness and softened in brightness. In Wicca, this awareness became a guiding principle expressed in the phrase, as above, so below. What moves in the sky moves within us. What changes above reflects a change below. The moon does not command, she reveals. Her power lies not in force, but in rhythm. When you work with the moon, you are not asking her to give you something. You are learning when to act, when to wait, and when to release. This is why lunar magic feels different from other forms of spiritual practice. It does not push, it aligns. It teaches that timing is intelligence and patience is power. In Wiccan understanding, the moon is a living cycle rather than a distant object. Her phases mirror the cycles of growth, rest, expansion, and decline that shape all life. Just as the tides respond to her pull, so does the human inner world. Thoughts, emotions, creativity, and desire all move more fluidly when we stop resisting these natural shifts. The moon reminds us that consistency does not mean sameness. It means returning to rhythm again and again. As above, so below is not poetic symbolism. It is practical magic. When the moon is dark, the psyche turns inward. When she waxes, motivation grows. When she is full, awareness peaks. When she wanes, release becomes possible. Wicca teaches that ignoring these movements leads to exhaustion, confusion, and spiritual disconnection. Honoring them restores balance. Lunar magic works because it cooperates with forces already in motion rather than trying to override them. This principle also reframes how power is understood. Power is not constant intensity. Power is responsiveness. The moon is powerful precisely because she changes. She does not cling to fullness or resist darkness. She moves through each phase completely, teaching that every state has purpose. In a world that glorifies endless productivity and visibility, the moon offers a different model. One where rest is not weakness, endings are not failures, and stillness is not absence. For the Wiccan practitioner, lunar magic begins with observation. Before any ritual, there is listening. How does your body feel during different phases? How do your thoughts behave? When does clarity come easily? And when does silence feel necessary? These questions are not abstract. They form the foundation of effective magical practice. When you understand your own lunar responses, magic becomes intuitive rather than forced. The moon also teaches humility. She reminds us that we are part of a larger system of movement and balance. No intention exists in isolation. Everything unfolds within a greater rhythm shaped by nature, time, and inner readiness. When magic is performed without this awareness, it becomes scattered or ineffective. When it is aligned with lunar flow, it feels effortless, as if something ancient recognizes what you are doing. Wicca does not treat the moon as a tool to be used, but as a presence to be honored. Her cycles are invitations, not commands. Each phase opens a different doorway into awareness. Some invite action. Others invite reflection. Others invite release. To ignore these invitations is to work against the current. To accept them is to move with grace through change. Understanding why the moon shapes magic is the first initiation. It shifts the practitioner from control to cooperation, from impatience to wisdom. Once this foundation is laid, every ritual becomes clearer. Every intention becomes more precise. Every release becomes more complete. The moon stops being something you look at and becomes something you move with. This is the beginning of lunar mastery. Not dominance over energy, but harmony with it. When you understand that what moves above is already moving below, magic becomes less about effort and more about alignment. And from this understanding, the entire lunar path unfolds. The moon as the goddess in motion in Wicca. The moon is not merely associated with the goddess, she is the goddess in movement. Not an image fixed in stone, not a name frozen in myth, but a living expression of divine intelligence unfolding through time. When the moon changes her face, the goddess is not changing identity. She is revealing different dimensions of herself. To understand lunar magic is to understand that divinity is not static. It breathes, transforms, withdraws, and returns. The sacred feminine has never been a single role. She is maiden and mother and crone, but she is also seeker, protector, destroyer, healer, and guide. The moon gives form to these aspects without separating them. Each phase flows naturally into the next, teaching that power does not belong to one state of being. It belongs to the ability to move between states with awareness. This is why Wicca does not elevate one lunar phase above the others. Each phase carries its own authority. When the moon is dark, the goddess is present in her most inward form. She is not absent, she is veiled. This is the aspect of the goddess that knows how to retreat, how to gestate, how to hold power in stillness. When the moon begins to wax, the goddess is awakening, stretching toward expression. When she is full, the goddess stands visible, radiant and unapologetic. When she wanes, the goddess teaches release, wisdom, and surrender. Through these movements, the moon reveals that divine power includes emergence and disappearance, voice and silence, creation and dissolution. This understanding reshapes how devotion works in Wicca. Devotion is not constant activity. It is responsiveness. To honor the goddess through the moon is to meet her where she is, not where you wish her to be. Some phases invite prayer and celebration. Others invite solitude and listening. The moon teaches that spiritual maturity comes from recognizing which aspect of the goddess is present and allowing that aspect to guide your actions. The moon also reveals the goddess as cyclical rather than hierarchical. There is no permanent ascent toward light, no linear progress that leaves darkness behind. Instead, there is return to darkness, return to fullness, return to release. This cycle mirrors the lived experience of the body, the psyche, and the seasons. In honoring the moon, Wiccans honor the truth that growth does not erase previous stages, it integrates them. This is why lunar magic feels intimate. The moon governs the tides of the body as much as the tides of the sea. She influences emotional rhythms, intuition, memory, and instinct. The goddess moves through these inner waters, shaping awareness from within. Lunar magic is not abstract worship. It is embodied relationship. It asks the practitioner to notice how the goddess expresses herself through feeling, mood, and inner knowing, rather than through external signs alone. The moon, as the goddess in motion, also teaches sovereignty. The goddess does not ask permission to change. She does not apologize for her phases. She does not remain full to satisfy expectation, nor does she rush out of darkness to reassure observers. She follows her own rhythm. This becomes a powerful lesson for the practitioner. To walk the lunar path is to reclaim the right to change without explanation, to rest without guilt, to shine without shrinking, and to withdraw without shame. In this way, the moon becomes a living teacher of boundaries. She shows when to open and when to close, when to reveal and when to conceal, when to act and when to wait. The goddess does not divide these states into good or bad. She treats them as necessary expressions of life. Wicca inherits this wisdom, teaching that spiritual power is not about constant visibility or control, but about alignment with natural cycles. To see the moon as the goddess in motion is to dissolve the idea of a distant deity. The divine is not somewhere else. It is present in rhythm, in breath, in emotional tides, and in the quiet pull toward change. Each time the moon shifts, the goddess invites the practitioner into a deeper understanding of herself and of their own nature. The relationship becomes reciprocal. As the moon moves, so does awareness. This chapter marks a transition from observing the moon to recognizing her as an active presence in spiritual life. Once this relationship is understood, lunar practice deepens naturally. Rituals gain meaning. Timing becomes intuitive. Magic stops feeling external and begins to feel lived. The goddess is no longer something you invoke. She is something you move with. And from this understanding, the next layer of lunar practice emerges. The sacred act of gathering in her light, entering her rhythm consciously, and stepping into the circle she draws across the night sky. The new moon. The power of invisible beginnings. The new moon arrives without spectacle. There is no silver glow, no visible arc in the sky, no outward sign that a new cycle has begun. And yet, in Wiccan understanding, this is the most potent moment of the entire lunar cycle. Power does not announce itself here. It gathers, it listens, it waits. The new moon teaches that what is unseen is not inactive. It is preparing. In this phase, the moon disappears from view, returning to darkness. The goddess turns inward, withdrawing her light not as absence, but as concentration. This is the womb of the cycle, where potential exists without form. Nothing has manifested yet, but everything is possible. The new moon does not ask for action. It asks for honesty. It invites you to sit with what you truly want before shaping it into intention. Wicca understands that beginnings are fragile. When something is spoken too soon, exposed too early, or forced into clarity before it is ready, it weakens. The new moon protects beginnings by keeping them hidden. This is why intentions set during this phase are often private, whispered rather than declared. They are not meant to impress or convince. They are meant to root themselves deeply before reaching toward the surface. Emotionally, the new moon can feel quiet, heavy, or introspective. Modern culture often misreads this as a lack of motivation or emptiness. Wiccan tradition recognizes it as alignment. Energy is withdrawing so it can reorganize. The psyche mirrors the sky, turning inward, sorting through desire, memory, and truth. This is the moment to ask not what you want to achieve, but what wants to emerge through you. Magical work at the new moon centers on clarity rather than manifestation. Intentions are not demands. They are acknowledgments. You name what you are willing to nurture, what you are ready to commit to, and what you are prepared to let grow slowly. This phase supports seed magic, journaling, meditation, and symbolic acts of planting. The act itself matters less than the awareness behind it. The new moon responds to sincerity, not urgency. There is also a lesson of restraint woven into this phase. Not every desire needs immediate action. Not every vision needs definition. The new moon teaches patience as a spiritual discipline. It shows that power accumulates when you allow space for gestation. Just as seeds germinate in darkness, intentions require time beneath the surface. The practitioner learns to trust this process rather than rush it. Spiritually, the new moon aligns with inner authority. Without visible light, guidance must come from within. Intuition speaks more clearly when external distraction fades. This is why many practitioners find the new moon ideal for listening practices rather than spell work. Silence becomes instructive, inner voices become discerned. The goddess, veiled and inward, teaches through subtle knowing rather than revelation. The new moon also offers a moment of reset. It closes the previous cycle completely before opening the next. This is not a continuation. It is a threshold. What has been released during the waning phases no longer belongs to this new beginning. The practitioner steps forward lighter, clearer, and more intentional. The new moon does not carry the past forward unless it is consciously chosen. Working with this phase cultivates trust. You may not see progress immediately. You may not feel momentum yet, but the work has begun. Energy is aligning. Conditions are forming. The moon reminds you that creation does not begin with movement. It begins with stillness, with decision, with the quiet courage to begin again without guarantees. In honoring the new moon, you learn to respect the unseen stages of your own growth. You stop measuring progress only by visibility. You begin to value preparation, intention, and inner alignment. This shift transforms how magic works. Instead of forcing outcomes, you prepared the ground so outcomes can arise naturally. The new moon is not empty. It is full of becoming. And when you learn to work within this darkness, you gain access to a depth of power that does not depend on attention, approval, or speed. It depends on truth, patience, and trust in the cycle itself. This is where the path truly begins. Not in light, but in willingness. Not in action, but in readiness. And as the moon begins to return, that readiness will slowly take form. Waxing crescent, attraction, momentum, and trust after the silence of the new moon. The first thin curve of light appears in the sky. It is subtle, easy to miss, and yet it signals that movement has begun. The waxing crescent marks the moment when intention shifts from inner knowing to tentative expression. Something has been chosen, and now it seeks nourishment. In Wiccan understanding, this phase carries the power of attraction rather than force. It is the time when energy begins to respond to what was planted in darkness. The light of the waxing crescent does not flood the night, it whispers. Its power lies in its gentleness. This is the phase where belief matters more than proof. The seed has been placed, but nothing visible confirms its growth yet. The practitioner is asked to trust the process without demanding reassurance. Lunar magic during this phase strengthens confidence, commitment, and the willingness to continue even when results are not yet apparent. Emotionally, this phase often brings a quiet stirring of motivation. Ideas begin to feel possible again. Curiosity replaces heaviness. The inner world leans forward slightly, testing the space ahead. Wicca recognizes this as the natural response to increasing light. Energy is returning, but it is still delicate. Overexertion during this phase can scatter momentum. The waxing crescent teaches moderation, reminding the practitioner that growth responds best to steady care rather than urgency. Magical work aligned with this phase focuses on attraction and alignment. Instead of demanding outcomes, the practitioner shapes conditions that invite them. This may involve symbolic actions, affirmations, or charms that reinforce belief in the intention already set. The purpose is not to convince the universe, but to stabilize the inner commitment. When doubt weakens focus, attraction weakens with it. The waxing crescent strengthens resolve by encouraging small, intentional gestures that keep energy moving without strain. Trust is the central lesson of this phase. Trust in timing, trust in inner guidance, trust that unseen processes are unfolding even when the surface remains quiet. The moon teaches that impatience disrupts flow. When you rush to see results, you pull energy out of alignment. When you allow momentum to build naturally, the current carries you forward with less resistance. This phase also invites awareness of where attention is placed. What you focus on during the waxing crescent begins to grow alongside your intention. Doubt, distraction, or conflicting desires can dilute momentum. Wiccan practice emphasizes clarity here, encouraging the practitioner to reinforce what they wish to attract through thought, environment, and action. This is not rigid control, it is conscious nourishment. The waxing crescent also teaches discernment between attraction and attachment. Attraction draws opportunities towards you. Attachment clings to outcomes and creates tension. Lunar magic works best when desire is held lightly but consistently. The moon's increasing light supports movement, but it does not tolerate desperation. This phase rewards steadiness, presence, and faith in the unfolding process. Spiritually, this phase reconnects the practitioner with hope. Not the naive hope that ignores difficulty, but the grounded hope that trusts in gradual progress. The goddess, now partially visible, encourages participation without forcing exposure. You are not required to reveal everything yet. Growth can remain private while it strengthens. This protects the work from outside interference and from internal self-sabotage. As the waxing crescent continues, energy responds to consistency. Each aligned action reinforces the path ahead. Each moment of trust deepens momentum. The moon teaches that attraction is not passive. It is responsive. It meets commitment with opportunity, patience with progress, and belief with alignment. By honoring this phase, The practitioner learns how to move forward without burning energy prematurely. The waxing crescent shows that power does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it grows quietly, gathering strength with each small act of trust, and as the moon continues to grow, that trust will be tested. Light will increase, and with it, challenge. The next phase will ask for action, decision, and courage. But for now, the lesson is simple and profound. Nurture what has begun, believe without proof, and allow momentum to build in its own time. First quarter moon, action, resistance, and choice. When the moon reaches her first quarter, the balance between light and darkness becomes exact. Half of her face is illuminated, half remains in shadow. In Wiccan wisdom, this moment is never neutral. It is charged with tension, movement, and decision. The first quarter moon brings the first real test of the intention set earlier in the cycle. What was planted in darkness and nurtured with trust must now encounter the reality of action. This phase often arrives with resistance. Obstacles appear, doubt resurfaces. External circumstances seem to challenge progress. Wicca does not interpret this as failure or misalignment. It understands resistance as initiation. The first quarter moon asks a direct question. Are you willing to act in support of what you have chosen, even when it requires effort, adjustment, or courage? Energy during this phase is dynamic and confrontational. It pushes against inertia. It exposes weak points in planning, belief, or commitment. Emotionally, this can feel uncomfortable. Frustration, impatience, or inner conflict may surface. Rather than suppressing these reactions, lunar practice encourages awareness. Resistance reveals where growth is needed. It shows what must be strengthened, clarified, or released in order for momentum to continue. Magical work aligned with the first quarter moon focuses on empowerment rather than attraction. This is the phase of taking responsibility for movement. Roadblocks are not removed by wishing. They are addressed through choice and action. Rituals performed now support courage, resilience, and boundaries. The moon lends strength, but it expects engagement. You meet her halfway by stepping forward with intention rather than waiting for circumstances to change on their own. This phase teaches that action does not require certainty. It requires willingness. Many practitioners wait for clarity before moving. The first quarter moon reverses this logic. Clarity emerges through movement. When you act in alignment with your intention, information becomes available, feedback activates, direction sharpens. Without action, energy stagnates and doubt multiplies. The goddess, reflected in this half-lit moon, stands at the crossroads. She does not guide by removing difficulty. She guides by revealing choice. The practitioner must decide what is worth effort and what is not. Some paths require redirection. Some commitments need reinforcement. Some obstacles reveal that an intention was not rooted deeply enough. The first quarter moon does not judge these realizations. It makes them visible. This is also a phase of strengthening boundaries. As movement increases, so does exposure. Distractions, conflicting demands, and external opinions can interfere with focus. Wiccan practice during this phase emphasizes protecting energy, saying no when necessary, and prioritizing what truly matters. Action without boundaries leads to exhaustion. Action with clarity builds power. Spiritually, The first quarter moon teaches self-trust through experience. Each step taken reinforces inner authority. Even mistakes become instructive. The moon does not punish missteps. She uses them to refine direction. The practitioner learns that resilience grows through engagement, not avoidance. Power develops through participation, not perfection. As this phase progresses, momentum either strengthens or dissipates based on choice. Intentions that receive consistent action move forward. Those that do not begin to fade naturally. This is not loss, it is discernment. The moon guides energy toward what is actively supported and away from what lacks commitment. By honoring the first quarter moon, the practitioner learns how to meet challenge without retreating. Resistance becomes information rather than threat. Action becomes a form of devotion. Each deliberate step strengthens alignment with the cycle. The moon continues to grow, carrying forward only what has proven resilient enough to move with her. The next phase will ask for refinement rather than force. What has survived resistance will now require patience and discernment. The moon's light will increase, revealing details that must be adjusted before full illumination arrives. For now, the lesson of the first quarter is clear. Power is not found in comfort, it is found in choice. When you act with awareness, even in uncertainty, the path responds. And with each choice made in alignment, the moon continues her ascent, carrying your intention closer to revelation. Waxing gibbous, refinement before revelation. As the moon grows toward fullness, her light becomes strong, steady, and unmistakable. The waxing gibbous phase carries a quiet intensity that is often overlooked. This is not the dramatic tension of the first quarter, nor the emotional surge of the full moon. It is something subtler and, in many ways, more demanding. The waxing gibbous asks for refinement. It asks for patience. It asks for discernment before truth is fully revealed. Up to this stage, the intention has survived its first challenges. Momentum exists. Action has been taken. Yet, the moon does not rush toward fullness. She slows slightly, allowing space for adjustment. In Wiccan understanding, this phase teaches that growth without refinement leads to distortion. What is approaching visibility must be aligned before it can be illuminated. Emotionally, this phase often brings heightened awareness. Details that were previously ignored become noticeable. Small misalignments begin to stand out. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that clarity is approaching. The waxing gibbous reveals what effort has been misdirected, where expectations need adjustment, and where greater focus is required. It encourages honest self-assessment without self-judgment. Magical work aligned with this phase focuses on fine-tuning rather than expansion. This is the moment to reassess intentions, not to abandon them. The practitioner asks whether actions match values, whether energy is being scattered, and whether the goal still reflects inner truth. The moon supports correction here, but only if the practitioner is willing to listen. This phase rewards humility and awareness more than force. The goddess, now nearly full in the sky, appears watchful. She does not intervene. She observes. Her presence encourages maturity. This is the phase where shortcuts reveal their consequences and discipline reveals its value. The waxing gibbous teaches that readiness is cultivated, not assumed. Before something is fully seen, it must be stable enough to withstand illumination. There's also an important lesson of restraint in this phase. As anticipation builds, the temptation to rush increases. The moon resists this urge. She demonstrates that timing matters as much as intention. When practitioners push prematurely toward results, energy becomes strained. When they allow refinement to unfold naturally, outcomes gain strength and clarity. Spiritually, the waxing gibbous invites alignment between inner and outer worlds. It asks whether the external pursuit still reflects the internal calling. If not, subtle discomfort may arise. This discomfort is guidance, not punishment. It points toward adjustments that prevent greater imbalance later. Wiccan practice honors this phase as a sacred checkpoint rather than an obstacle. This phase also deepens self. The practitioner begins to see how habits, patterns, and unconscious motivations influence the work. The moon's increasing light exposes these influences gently, allowing them to be addressed before they become limiting. Refinement is an act of respect for the intention itself. It ensures that what reaches fullness is authentic rather than distorted by neglect. As the moon approaches fullness, energy becomes dense with possibility. This density can feel heavy if resisted or empowering if accepted. The waxing gibbous teaches how to hold this pressure without collapsing under it through steady attention, patience, and adjustment. The practitioner learns how to prepare for revelation without fear. In honoring this phase, you learn that not all progress is visible. Some of the most important work happens just before illumination, when awareness sharpens and integrity is tested. The moon reminds you that fullness is not a reward for speed. It is the natural result of care, commitment, and refinement. Soon, the moon will reveal everything she has been building toward. Truth will surface. Awareness will peak. But before that moment arrives, this phase offers a final opportunity to align, correct, and strengthen what you have set in motion. The waxing gibbous teaches that preparation is a form of wisdom. When you honor this phase, you ensure that what is revealed under the full moon will be something you are ready to see. The full moon illumination, truth, and psychic clarity. When the moon reaches fullness, nothing is hidden. Her entire face turns toward the earth, reflecting light in its most complete form. In Wiccan understanding, this is not a moment of excess, but of revelation. The full moon does not create power. It exposes it. What has been growing throughout the cycle now stands fully visible, both in the sky and within the inner world. This phase gains intensity because awareness is heightened. Emotions rise, intuition sharpens. The subconscious moves closer to the surface of consciousness. The full moon acts as a mirror, showing what has been nurtured, what has been neglected, and what can no longer be ignored. This is why the full moon has long been associated with truth. It brings clarity not by judgment, but by illumination. In Wicca, the full moon is honored as the goddess fully revealed. She stands radiant, unapologetic, and complete. This aspect of the goddess invites recognition rather than striving. The work of this phase is not to push forward, but to witness honestly. The practitioner is asked to look clearly at what has come into being without denial or exaggeration. The moon's light makes distortions visible, allowing awareness to replace assumption. Psychically, this is the most receptive phase of the cycle. Divination becomes clearer because the mind is more open to symbolic language. Tarot, scrying, and intuitive practices benefit from the moon's illumination because inner and outer perception align. The veil between conscious thought and intuitive knowing thins, allowing insight to move freely. The full moon teaches that clarity does not always arrive calmly. Sometimes it arrives with emotional force. This does not make it less true. Magical work performed during the full moon centers on acknowledgement and amplification. Intentions that have been carried through the cycle reach their peak expression. This is not the time to introduce new desires, but to recognize what has manifested, whether it matches expectations or not. Gratitude becomes a powerful practice here, not as politeness, but as alignment. Gratitude stabilizes awareness, preventing overwhelm and grounding revelation. Charging tools, water, or sacred objects under the full moon is a symbolic act of alignment. These items absorb not energy created by the moon, but clarity reflected by her light. They become reminders of presence and awareness, carrying the quality of illumination into future moments. The practice reinforces the understanding that magic is not stored power, but conscious attention. Emotionally, the full moon can feel overwhelming for those unprepared for intensity. Wiccan wisdom teaches that this intensity is not dangerous when approached with grounding and honesty. Suppressed feelings surface now because the light demands acknowledgement. Avoidance becomes difficult. Yet this surfacing is not meant to destabilize, it is meant to liberate. What is seen can be understood. What is understood can be integrated. The full moon also teaches discernment. Not everything revealed requires immediate action. Some truths need time to settle. The moon does not demand reaction. She invites awareness. In this way, the practitioner learns to sit with insight rather than rushing to resolve it. This restraint prevents misinterpretation and allows wisdom to mature. Spiritually, the full moon marks a moment of communion. The practitioner stands in alignment with the cycle, fully present within it. There is a sense of connection to something larger than individual desire. The moon's light reminds us that personal intentions exist within a greater rhythm shaped by nature, time, and collective experience. This awareness deepens humility and expands perspective. As the full moon begins to pass, the work of illumination completes itself. What needed to be seen has been seen. What needed to be felt has been felt. The cycle begins to turn inward once more. The intensity softens, making space for integration. The goddess, having revealed herself fully, now begins her gradual retreat, carrying wisdom rather than urgency. Honoring the full moon teaches the practitioner how to hold truth without being consumed by it. It strengthens the ability to witness rather than react, to recognize rather than control. This skill becomes essential as the cycle moves toward release. What has been illuminated must now be understood, appreciated, and eventually let go. The full moon does not end the journey. It marks its turning point. From here, the light will begin to fade, not as loss, but as transition. The work ahead will be quieter, gentler, and no less powerful. The next phase invites reflection, gratitude, and integration of all that has been revealed. Waning gibbous. Integration and gratitude as the moon begins to wane. Her light softens. She is no longer at her peak, yet she has not disappeared. This phase carries a quieter wisdom, one that asks not for action or revelation, but for understanding. The waning gibbous is the phase of integration. What has been illuminated must now be absorbed. What has been revealed must find its place within you. In Wiccan practice, This phase teaches that insight alone is not transformation. Transformation happens when insight is integrated into daily life. After the intensity of the full moon, emotions begin to settle. The nervous system relaxes. Awareness shifts from exposure to comprehension. This is when meaning forms. The moon's light still guides, but it does so gently, encouraging reflection rather than reaction. Gratitude becomes a central practice during this phase, not as ritual politeness, but as alignment. Gratitude acknowledges what has been received, whether it arrived as clarity, challenge, or confirmation. By recognizing the gifts of the cycle so far, the practitioner stabilizes the energy of the work. Gratitude prevents fragmentation. It gathers experience into coherence. Emotionally, this phase often brings a sense of calm, perspective. What felt overwhelming at the full moon now feels manageable. Patterns become visible. Connections form. The practitioner may recognize how certain choices led to certain outcomes, how resistance shaped growth, or how patience protected intention. The waning gibbous allows these realizations to settle without urgency. Magical work aligned with this phase supports reflection, teaching, and gentle release. This is a time to clean spaces, not as a dramatic banishing, but as an act of care. Clearing clutter mirrors the internal process of organizing insight. Writing, contemplation, and quiet conversations support integration. The moon encourages sharing wisdom when appropriate, but without forcing expression. Spiritually, the goddess now embodies the aspect of the wise guide. She does not shine brightly to be seen. She shines softly to be understood. Her presence reassures rather than challenges. The practitioner is invited to rest in awareness, trusting that nothing needs to be done immediately. Integration requires time, and the moon provides it. This phase also teaches appreciation for process. It reminds the practitioner that growth is cumulative. Each phase of the cycle contributes something essential. The waning gibbous honors the journey rather than fixating on outcomes. In doing so, it deepens spiritual maturity. The practitioner learns to value insight not for its intensity, but for its usefulness. As the moon continues to wane, energy gradually withdraws from expansion and returns inward. The work of integration prepares the ground for conscious release. What has been understood can now be evaluated. What has been learned can inform what is ready to be let go. The waning gibbous is a bridge between awareness and release. It ensures that letting go is informed rather than impulsive. When this phase is honored, the practitioner carries wisdom forward rather than losing it in transition. This quiet integration sets the stage for the next phase, where clarity sharpens again, not to reveal, but to besiege. The moon's light will continue to diminish, guiding the practitioner toward conscious release and intentional closure. When the moon reaches her last quarter, light and darkness meet again in balance, but the direction has changed. Where the first quarter pushed forward into action, the last quarter turns toward release. This phase carries decisive energy. It asks not what you are building, but what you are ready to end. In Wiccan wisdom, this is not a phase of loss, it is a phase of reclamation. The last quarter moon reveals what has completed its purpose. Patterns that once supported growth now feel heavy. Habits that once offered protection begin to restrict movement. Relationships, beliefs, or emotional responses that no longer align with inner truth surface clearly. This is not accidental. The moon is preparing the cycle for closure, and closure requires honesty. Emotionally, this phase can feel sharp. Irritation, restlessness, or a strong desire for change may arise. Wicca teaches that these feelings are signals, not problems. They point toward what needs to be cleared. The moon is not asking for impulsive destruction, but for conscious choice. What remains unexamined cannot be released cleanly. The last quarter invites discernment before action. Forgiveness plays a central role in this phase. Forgiveness is not forgetting, excusing, or bypassing harm. It is the release of energetic attachment. Holding resentment binds energy to the past. Forgiveness loosens that binding, allowing movement forward. In Wiccan practice, forgiveness is understood as a form of self. It restores sovereignty by returning energy to its rightful place. Magical work aligned with the last quarter focuses on banishing, cord cutting, and habit. These acts are not fueled by anger, but by clarity. The practitioner names what is no longer needed and chooses to disengage from it. Fire, breath, and symbolic gestures often support this process, reinforcing the intention to release without carrying residue forward. The goddess, reflected in this half-lit moon, embodies the aspect of the judge and the guardian. She does not punish. She helps the practitioner distinguish between what is essential and what has become burdensome. Under her guidance, endings feel purposeful rather than chaotic. The practitioner learns that saying no is as sacred as saying yes. This phase also teaches responsibility. Releasing something does not mean denying its role in the past. Gratitude and accountability often coexist here. The practitioner acknowledges what was learned, what was endured, and what is now complete. This acknowledgement prevents cycles from repeating unconsciously. Release becomes an act of wisdom rather than reaction. As the moon continues to wane, energy lightens, space opens, the psyche begins to breathe differently. Letting go restores clarity and restores strength. What once demanded attention fades, creating room for rest and renewal. The last quarter moon teaches that clearing is not emptiness. It is preparation. Spiritually, this phase strengthens inner authority. Choosing to release reinforces trust in intuition. The practitioner learns to honor inner signals rather than external expectations. This alignment restores balance and prepares the way for deep rest. What remains after release is what truly belongs. The last quarter does not rush the ending. It completes it. When this phase is honored, closure feels clean rather than abrupt. The cycle moves forward without unfinished business, pulling at awareness. The moon guides the practitioner toward the final phase of surrender, where effort gives way to rest and restoration. What you release now does not disappear into nothing. It returns to the cycle, transformed. Energy reclaimed here becomes the foundation for future beginnings. The moon teaches that letting go is not the opposite of growth. It is one of its most powerful expressions. As the light continues to fade, the work becomes quieter still. The final phase invites rest, surrender, and deep listening. What has been cleared makes space for renewal to arise naturally, without force or expectation. Waning crescent and dark moon, rest, shadow, and renewal. As the moon thins to a fragile curve and then disappears completely, the cycle reaches its most inward point. This is the waning crescent and the dark moon, the threshold where effort dissolves and surrender takes its place. In Wiccan wisdom, this phase is not an ending in the sense of loss, it is a return to silence, to rest, and to the deep inner space where renewal begins without being forced. The waning crescent draws energy away from the outer world. Motivation fades, not as failure, but as necessity. The psyche seeks quiet. The body asks for gentleness. The spirit longs for stillness. Wicca recognizes this withdrawal as sacred. It is the phase where healing happens beneath awareness, where exhaustion is honored rather than resisted, and where the soul is allowed to loosen its grip on effort. Emotionally, this phase often brings sensitivity. Old memories may surface. Dreams become vivid. Intuition speaks in subtle impressions rather than clear directives. The moon no longer illuminates the path ahead. Instead, she asks the practitioner to pause, to listen, and to trust what cannot yet be seen. This is the wisdom of the dark moon. It removes external guidance so inner knowing can be felt more clearly. Shadow work finds its natural place here, not as confrontation, but as presence. The dark moon does not demand analysis. It invites honesty without performance. Fears, grief, fatigue, and uncertainty may rise, not to be fixed, but to be acknowledged. In Wiccan practice, this is understood as spiritual composting. What surfaces now feeds future growth. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is rushed. Rest becomes an act of magic in this phase. Not passive rest, but conscious surrender. Choosing not to act. Choosing not to decide. Choosing not to push. The waning crescent teaches that power renews itself when allowed to withdraw fully. Just as the land lies dormant in winter before spring returns, the spirit needs darkness to restore its strength. The goddess, now unseen, is at her most mysterious. She is not absent. She is complete within herself. This is her sovereign aspect, untouched by expectation or demand. She teaches the practitioner that worth is not tied to productivity, visibility, or action. Worth exists even in stillness, especially in stillness. In this phase, rituals become minimal or dissolve entirely. Silence replaces spell. Breath replaces intention. Presence replaces effort. Some practitioners choose meditation in darkness, allowing the mind to empty naturally. Others focus on rest, sleep, or quiet reflection. The moon supports all of this. There is nothing to achieve here. The work is in allowing the cycle to close completely. The dark moon also governs justice and banishing, not through aggression, but through finality. What no longer belongs has already been released. Now, attachment dissolves naturally. The practitioner does not chase closure. Closure arrives on its own. This is the difference between forced endings and completed ones. The moon teaches that true endings do not require struggle. As the cycle empties, space opens, not immediately filled, not yet defined. This space is fertile because it is unclaimed. It belongs to the future, not the past. The waning crescent and dark moon guard this space, ensuring it remains untouched until the new moon arrives again. Spiritually, this phase restores humility. It reminds the practitioner that they are part of a greater rhythm. No phase can be held indefinitely. No state is permanent. Light returns because darkness was honored. Beginnings arise because endings were allowed to complete. This understanding creates peace rather than fear. When the moon disappears from the sky, the cycle does not end, it rests. And in that rest, something new begins to stir, unseen and unnamed. The practitioner does not need to reach for it. It will return in its own time. The waning crescent and dark moon teach the final and most important lesson of lunar magic. That renewal does not come from effort alone, but from trust in the cycle. When you honor rest, shadow, and surrender, you prepare the ground for authentic beginnings. If this message touched your spirit, let your light join ours, subscribe, and walk with me through the sacred seasons. Blessed be